Hey everyone, I hope you're all doing well today. This time we are going to be talking about Oxenfree II, Lost Signals. I love the story of this game. It reminds me of growing up in a small town where you had some weird secrets and kids kind of had to create their own fun in certain ways. That's really what I feel when I play this game, and also when I played the first game. It isn't necessary to know what happened in the first game because this story takes kind of an offshoot, so it didn't really matter how you completed the first game. This one is an entirely different story, which does touch on the events from the first game, but it isn't necessary to really know what happened there. We follow the character Riley, who has just taken a job as a researcher for a university. She has to go to this island and set up a few transmitters so they can track the migration patterns of cuckoos. At least that's what I remember from the game. She is also met there by a character named Jacob, and he's sort of the handyman on the island. Both Riley and Jacob grew up on this island, and they had apparently gone to high school together, but don't really know each other that well. Along the way, we learn more about both of them, but for the most part, we learn more about Riley. We get flashes of her past and also a possible future. She is putting her life back together in many ways after getting fired from her previous job and also learning that she's pregnant. We don't really know too much about Jacob. He inherited a house on the island, and he's had kind of a rough go of it after his parents have died. His brother is apparently off in New York, and the two of them don't really talk all that much. There's also a weird kind of religious cult on the island, and there are 3 kids who are associated with that cult. Of those 3, the only one that really matters is Olivia. The other 2 aren't really explored very much, or at least they weren't when I was playing through this. I did miss some things, so there's a chance that there's more character development for the other 2 kids, but I didn't really get that in my playthrough. Olivia is trying to reconnect with her parents, so there's this running theme throughout the game of loss of parents or not being connected with your parents as much as you should, or kind of growing up on your own. Olivia's parents are somewhere, and she hopes that, I believe they're dead, and she hopes that she can reconnect with them by using the same ghosts from the previous game. So the Klonoa, the submarine that sunk, that is still a thing. Those ghosts are still trying to get back into this world, but you also learn that Alex from the first game and her friends are also trying to get back into this world as well. Alex's plan is to use Olivia and swap places with her and her friends. The ghost's plan is to just come into the world and take over everybody and completely destroy the timeline. Riley's goal ends up being to stop the ghosts, which she does successfully. You're then given an option at the end of the game who you want to leave behind, because someone has to stay behind in order to stabilize the timeline. I went with Olivia, so Olivia stayed behind where she really wanted to, because she wanted to stay with her parents and everything. And at the very end, you're given a wrap-up on all the characters. You find out that Alex and her friends make it back, and they don't really remember anything, except for Alex. So it's kind of weird. The only 3 people that know what happened that night are Riley, Alex, and Jacob. And they don't really seem to talk about it. Or they do, but they don't really go over it too much. In the epilogue, you find out that some other characters do kind of remember what happened. You have some voicemails from the 2 surviving kids where they want to kind of rationalize and deal with what happened. They aren't doing it very well, but they're trying as best they can. It's a very interesting story that deals with a lot of pretty interesting things. The characters are fairly good. You have some where I think I need to go back and play it in order to explore their characters more, and there are some contacts on your radio that I know I missed because they're still question marks, and I'm just assuming that there's supposed to be something there. The gameplay is very simple and straightforward. Most of what you're doing is choosing dialogue options and moving your character around. There are some simple puzzles that you might need to solve, but again, those are fairly simple. These puzzles involve you moving your radio frequency around, tuning a frequency to a machine, so creating like the right shape by moving the up, down, left, and right on your analog sticks. And also finding points for the transmitters to be lined up correctly. You only have 4 of those, and they're very easy puzzles to solve. All of them have like audio-visual cues that you need that you're going to be given in order to guide you to having some success at these. Everything in this game is set up for you to succeed or impacts the outcome of the game in some way. Oxenfree II feels a little bit like a LucasArts adventure game, similar to something like Monkey Island. It's a serious game, but there's a lot of humor thrown into it to kind of ease the tension. It seems less scary than the first game, which wasn't super scary, but it seems less serious and less threatening than the first game does. You can find more information about what's happening if you explore the island, but you also might miss these like I did. You'll also probably find more contacts on your radio. As I mentioned in my playthrough, I only found 4 of those contacts. There are 5 others that I just wasn't able to locate. This does add some replay value to the game. If you explore the island, you'll find more people, and you'll pick up more information about Maggie Adler from the first game, and just some more stuff about the cult and that sort of thing. It's pretty fun to go through and find more stuff in here, and I'm glad that the developers did this because it gives you more of a reason to go back and play as opposed to just seeing what other dialogue options you can throw in there. The ending that I got was relatively happy. I might get a different ending in future playthroughs, which might change how people act or how people view Riley, because that can alter based on how you go through the game. If you choose different dialogue options to make Riley kind of a dick, then people are going to have a negative opinion of her, as opposed to if you just kind of act like a normal person, and then people view you in a more positive light. Overall, I like the gameplay. It's simple but engaging. The puzzles aren't too hard, and they don't really detract from playing the game in any way. Everything in this is set up for you to succeed, and set up for you to get the best possible outcome, or the outcome that you desire to get. It's a really solid game, and I enjoyed playing it an awful lot. I really like how the game looks. It's great to just look at the different backgrounds and see how this really run-down town looks. It's pretty cool to look at. Also, the trails and everything are easy to see. It's easy to tell where you're going. Even the map, it looks a little odd at first, but you can easily see where the trails are supposed to go. Things get a little trippy at times. You get some tracking lines on this, which remind me of like a VHS tape. This happened in the first game as well, and I'm glad it carried over because it just keeps with the running theme of radio transmissions and creepy signals that you're going to find. This also goes along with the vaporwave music that's in this, where everything feels a little unsettling and a little off, especially when you go into some of the flashbacks where you're seeing the past or when you're going into the future. There is one thing that I forgot to mention, but it does kind of tie into the visuals in some way. In this game, you'll come across certain tears in reality, and by going into those, you travel back in time. You will have to change or alter time at some point, where you go to this ghost town and you have to manipulate these two devices in order to change the time period that you're traveling back to. You can actually see what's going on in the terror from reality that you have to go through. So by altering these machines, you'll see the tear kind of change shape in some way, or you'll see the image in that tear change. So it's kind of a cool thing that they did with the visuals to show you what you need to do and where you need to go. There are a lot of things like this where the sound and the visuals work together to kind of make you, or to help you through the game in some way. Specifically, when you get to the puzzles, you'll get the rumbling feeling in the controller from when you're getting close. You'll also see the images change a little bit, and you'll hear more feedback on your radio. It's a really nice way to tell somebody, hey, you're getting close to what you need to do. It works out really well. But I really do just love the atmosphere that this game builds. It gets really creepy at times, but it still remains somewhat lighthearted, so it's not too scary. You know you're going to get out in the end because, hey, you're the hero of this story. You have to solve everything and end up winning and defeating the ghosts at the end. The ghosts also look really cool with their translucent red and everything. It's just a great looking game. The first Oxenfree is one of those games that got me into indie games. It has an excellent set of characters, a wonderful story, and it's just a fantastic game. In many ways, Oxenfree II improves on the original. The sequel improves on the gameplay by encouraging you to explore more. The characters aren't necessarily as good, or at least the chemistry between the characters isn't as good, but it's still a fun thing to go through, and it's still fun to hear the banter between them. The dialogue is just really great. It feels a little bit more natural than some games that I've played, and this story builds on the lore from the previous game, and it adds more to it. It just makes the original game better by having this game, because it makes everything feel connected in some way. Even though they still call the submarine screw a propeller, I still like this game quite a bit. I do like this game a little more than the original. Riley and Jacob don't have the same chemistry as Alex and her friends, but they didn't know each other as well as Alex and her friends, so it makes some sense. If you like the original, you'll probably like this one. Anyway, that's going to wrap things up. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I will talk to you all later. Bye.